In the final act, the Stewart family and friends gather for the wedding, and the judge begins.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please take your places. The wedding ceremony is about to begin.
Harry walks across the patio. He's ready, but when the judge asks for the rings...
The rings, please.
Does Harry have the rings?
Today we'll be attending Harry and Susan's wedding ceremony, which is taking place in the Stewart family's house.
今天我们要参加 Harry 和 Susan 的婚礼了。在前两幕里，我们看到了一些准备结婚的情况。那么在这一幕里，我们要看到婚礼是怎么进行的。
Judge. How are you? How are you, Mandy?
Hello.
I think it's time for the wedding to begin. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please take your places. The wedding ceremony is about to begin. Okay, Jane, start the music.
People still traditionally get married in a church for the most part, but people can also choose other places to get married, like a park or some other public place. Some people get married by a lake. Usually the person presiding is a judge, preacher, or justice of the peace.
Susan 的婚礼就是请一位法官 judge 来主持。另外，结婚的时间和地点通常由女方的家长来定，而且并不一定在男方家举行。
Now the judge asks everybody to get ready.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please take your places. The wedding ceremony is about to begin.
Take your places 的意思是各就各位，如果有椅子的话的意思也可以是请大家入座。
A flower girl, like Michelle is in this wedding, is a young girl who brings in a bunch of fresh flowers. Traditionally, she'll walk down the aisle and sprinkle the petals of the flower along the aisle. Sometimes she walks with a little boy next to her. He carries the ring, and he is called the ring bearer. In Susan and Harry's wedding, they do not have a ring bearer. They only have a flower girl, and that is Michelle. In the traditional wedding ceremony, a bride will choose other women to be part of the ceremony or part of the wedding party. Right next to the bride stands the maid of honor. Next to the maid of honor stands the bridesmaids. All of these are usually very close friends or even relatives of the bride. On the groom's side, standing closest to the groom, is the best man, who is usually a good friend or a relative of his.
在 Susan 的婚礼上 Marilyn 就做 Susan 的女宾相。
You notice that Philip, or Susan's father, is escorting her. This is traditional in a wedding ceremony. The father usually escorts the bride, or, as we say, gives the bride away. 除了父亲陪伴女儿之外，大家也许还注意到 Susan 这时手里也拿着一束鲜花，通常是白色的花。Everybody is in his or her place now, getting ready for the wedding ceremony to begin. The wedding dress is a very important part of the wedding ceremony, at least it is to the bride, so let's stop a minute and talk about that. Many young brides buy a new dress, but because they're so expensive, now they rent them. Or, if they can fit into them, they borrow their mother's dress. That's more traditional. The wedding dress is usually white, especially if it's the first time that the bride is married. A white dress usually signifies purity, and therefore is only worn for the first time.
好，下面让我们来看看法官要说些什么。
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to join this man and this woman in holy matrimony. Do either of you have any reason why you should not legally be joined in marriage? Is there anyone present who can show any just cause why these two people should not be legally joined in marriage? Then, Harry Bennett, do you take Susan Stewart to be your lawful wedded wife?
I do.
And you, Susan Stewart, do you take Harry Bennett to be your lawful wedded husband?
I do.
The rings, please.
It's a little difficult to understand what he's saying, isn't it? I'll read the words of what he's saying and have Yafu translate into Chinese. It's a little easier to understand then. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to join this man and this woman in holy matrimony.
敬爱的人们，今天我们聚集在这里，见证这位男士和这位女士的神圣婚盟。
Do either of you have any reason why you should not legally be joined in marriage?
两位之中，有哪一位因为某项原因不能合法结婚的吗？
Is there anyone present who can show any just cause why these two people should not be legally joined in marriage?
在座可有人能提出任何正当的理由，说明这两个人不该合法结婚的吗？
Then, Harry Bennett, do you take Susan Stewart to be your lawful wedded wife?
那么 Harry Bennett， 你愿意接受 Susan Stewart 做你合法的妻子吗？
Now it's time for the bride and groom to exchange rings. Let's talk a minute about what the rings signify. When people get married, they usually have rings as part of the ceremony. But before the wedding ceremony, oftentimes a bride will have an engagement ring, which the groom gives to her a while before the wedding ceremony. It is only during the wedding ceremony that the bride and groom exchange rings. They put them on each other's fingers as a symbol of their love and long-lasting expectation to live together. There are many other kinds of rings in the United States besides wedding rings. There are rings for graduation from high school, college, military academy, all kinds of rings. There are also rings just for jewelry, just worn for fun. Expensive ones as well as very cheap ones.
The rings, please.
I have them, Harry.
By the power vested in me by the laws of the state of New York, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride now, Harry.
现在我们知道了，戴戒指还有很多种。虽然许多美国人在结婚之后会把戒指戴在无名指上，但是并不是说所有在无名指上戴戒指的人都是结了婚的。比如有 graduation ring 毕业戒指，那么也可以戴在无名指上。
The rings, please.
I haven't, Harry.
In the final part of the wedding ceremony, the groom traditionally kisses the bride. He lifts her veil and gives her a kiss. At this point, many mothers and women in the audience cry, usually because they're very happy.
By the power vested in me by the laws of the state of New York, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride now, Harry.
Let's talk for a minute about wedding invitations. Wedding invitations are a very important part of the wedding ceremony in the United States. They are printed in formal publishing houses, and they are sent out to guests and relatives about 3 months before the ceremony. In each wedding invitation is a small card that lets the people RSVP, which is French for Réponds s'il vous plaît, which means please respond. It's very impolite not to respond to a wedding invitation because the bride and groom want to know how many people, how many guests to prepare for. Mr. and Mrs. Philip Stewart request the honor of your presence at the marriage of their daughter, Susan, to Mr. Harry Bennett, Sunday, the 23rd of June at 2 o'clock, at their home, 46 Linden Street, Riverdale, New York.
仅定于6月23日星期日下午2点，于自宅为小女苏珊与 Henry Bennett 成婚，敬请光临观礼。地址：纽约 Riverdale Linden Street 46号。Philip 和 Ellen Stewart 敬启。好，下面我们来看一下英文中结婚启事是怎么写的。
Susan Stewart weds Harry Bennett. Susan Stewart, daughter of Dr. and Mrs. Philip Stewart of Riverdale, New York, was married yesterday to Mr. Harry Bennett of Fort Lee, New Jersey. The bride is a vice president at the Universe Toy Company in New York City. Mr. Bennett is a certified public accountant. The wedding took place at the Stewart's home.
Susan Stewart 与 Henry Bennett 成婚。纽约州的 Riverdale 的 Susan Stewart 于昨日与 New Jersey 州的 Fort Lee 的 Henry Bennett 先生结婚。女方家长为 Philip Stewart 的医生夫妇。新娘是纽约市宇宙玩具公司的副总裁。Bennett 先生是一位立案会计师。婚礼在 Stewart 家中举行。好，下面我们把有关婚礼的词汇再复习一下。
Bride, bride.
新娘、
Groom, groom.
新郎、
bridesmaid, bridesmaid,
女宾相，
best man, best man,
男宾相，
wedding ceremony, wedding ceremony,
婚礼，
wedding dress, wedding dress,
婚纱，
tuxedo, tuxedo,
燕尾服，
bow tie, bow tie,
蝴蝶结，
confetti, confetti.
彩色碎纸。
Let's watch the whole act again from beginning to end.
让我们把这一幕从头到尾看一下。
Philip?
Ah, Judge.
How are you? How are you, my dear?
Hello.
I think it's time for the wedding to begin. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please take your places. The wedding ceremony is about to begin. Okay, Jane, start the music. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to join this man and this woman in holy matrimony. Do either of you have any reason why you should not legally be joined in marriage? Is there anyone present who can show any just cause why these two people should not be legally joined in marriage? Then, Harry Bennett, do you take Susan Stewart to be your lawful wedded wife?
I do.
And you, Susan Stewart, do you take Harry Bennett to be your lawful wedded husband?
I do.
The rings, please.
I have them, Harry.
By the power vested in me by the laws of the state of New York, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride now, Harry.
What a wonderful wedding, Philip. Just perfect.
It was, Ellen, and you were the beautiful mother of the bride. Look at you, here, with Robbie, as he escorted you onto the patio.
Robbie looked so grown up and handsome like his father. And look at Michelle. What a sweet flower girl. She was so excited. She'd never been to a wedding before.
And here's Susan's bridesmaid, Marilyn.
Marilyn was Susan's matron of honor, Philip. Look at Richard and Harry. They seem like brothers, don't they?
And Dad with our new grandson, Max. I love this picture.
And I love this one of you escorting Susan.
That's our little girl, Ellen.
Oh, Philip. I remember when she was just a baby. Our little girl grew up so fast. And now she's a mature married woman with her own family. I feel like I've lost my daughter.
Ellen, you haven't lost a daughter. We've gained a son, a talented, intelligent, likable son who happens to love our daughter very much. We also have a lovely new granddaughter, Michelle.
What a wonderful family. I love you, Philip.
I love you too, Ellen.